arrived to mitzvah number 450. Remember, there's 613 altogether. And the last mitzvah we spoke about, that the Kohanim, when they receive the bikurim, the first ripe fruit on the tree, the best fruit that's ripe, you take out and you put it in a basket and bring it to the Kohanim in a time of Bet HaMikdash, the temple. And today, obviously, we cannot do this mitzvah because there's no holy temple anymore. But some people, as a memory of this mitzvah, they bring baskets to the rabbis on Sukkot, on Chol HaMoed, or in Pesach. Okay, but anyway, what's happening here is that one requirement the Torah said to the Kohanim, that before they eat it, right, they have to put it in a Azara. There's a place, the big room in a Bet HaMikdash when you enter, it's called the Azara, and before they eat it, it has to first arrive to the Azara. They cannot eat it before it enters the Azara. Now, this is, for instance, a mitzvah that you cannot find common sense in it. I mean, human common sense, because it's a divine law. It's just do it, and that's it. I always say in my lectures now, most of the mitzvot of the Torah are not only hard to understand in human logic, sometimes it's against human logic. Over here, it's not against human logic. You just don't understand the divine logic. It's divine law. Sometimes it's against human logic, But here, it's mitzvah that the Kohanim, they have to bring it first to the Azara. I think that one of the reasons is that maybe everybody will see it together in one place and then they eat it. When everyone eats it separately, maybe it's more respect. But like I said, there's many secrets in it. Okay, that was mitzvah the number 450. Mitzvah number 451, it's slaughtering the animal. Now this mitzvah has many rules applied to it, which all of them comes in oral Torah. In the written Torah, you only know that when you need to eat an animal, you have to slaughter the animal. But how do you do it? How do you check the animals? Which animals are kosher? Which one are not? All these things, or what's to check, defects, all these things, most of that comes in the oral law. If a person doesn't ever want to eat meat all his life, then he never has to slaughter. It's not an obligation to slaughter. It's only when you decide that you want to eat meat or chicken, now you have to slaughter. If you don't want to eat, you don't slaughter, no problem. You can go all your life. If a person doesn't like meat, vegetarian, today there's plenty of vegetarian people. If he lives somewhere in all his life, he never touched meat. In the old days, people used to slaughter their own animals. Today, we go to the butcher, they do it for us. But in the old days, a person had 20, 30 chickens all the time running in his backyard. Whenever he wants to eat one of them, he make a bracha, he check, he cover the blood with the sand, clean the skin, cut the inside, remove the inside of the chicken. An hour later, you have a roasted chicken inside a special oven, like a taboon, like they make the pita bread. So they go inside slowly, and then it becomes roasted. That's how it used to be. So if a person doesn't like meat, can all his life not make this mitzvah even once. Never. If he eats meat, every time he wants to eat meat, he has to slaughter. The slaughtering, of course, is cutting the front of the throat in a certain place. Not everywhere you want. It has to be exactly in the right place. Has to be in one shot. The knife has to be very smooth. The knife cannot have any bumps. After a while, knives have bumps. You put them down, you get a little slight of a curve, or sometimes the bump comes out, or is not as smooth. Then the animals may have extra suffering. When the knife is very smooth, the animal doesn't really realize anything, because in one shot, you cut the two cords that sends the blood into the brain, and even though you see the chicken is still, the reflex of the chicken that is moving and jumping, or the cow is trying to get back on their feet after you cut the neck, don't be too panicked from that, because this is not pain. This is messages that the brain sent to the nerve system before the system got disconnected. It's like, I always like to give an example. It's like when you download in your computer, sometimes, you know, as you watch something, the download is taking place while you're watching. And sometimes the internet dies, the wireless, whatever, it doesn't work. And then for another 20 seconds, you continue to see a picture until it dies. You already know there's no internet, but the picture grants. Why? Because this is information that was sent before it got cut. It was already sent. So it seems that it's working fine. Same thing over here. Once the blood circulates in the body, the blood turns everything to work. And then when they cut the throat of the chicken or the animal, whatever it is, lamb, so, you know, like in Israel, the custom is they make the animal fall down, they push their head down to the ground, and then they slaughter. In America, the system is more advanced. They have special ways to hold their head, and they're standing while they're cutting. There's a different way of doing it. It doesn't matter. It can be while it's laying down. It can be while it's standing. As long as it's in one shot, very fast, not in installment, a little bit and a little bit, and it has to be in one shot, and that's it. You should know one thing, that many of the Goyim, the Gentiles, they're challenging the Jewish kosher slaughtering in courts in their country, like Switzerland, Mexico, and other countries. And they try to claim that the Jewish slaughtering is a cruel slaughtering. It's a cool way to kill the animals. The truth is that they have no idea what they talk about. The reason they think that it's cruel because they do not know one thing. Animals that are not kosher, such as horse, pig, and all the rest, they have two reserve cords in the back of their neck that continue to send blood after you cut the front. So the brain continues to receive blood until the animal loses so much blood and it dies, which means the animal can feel the pain. The animal suffers because the brain continues to receive blood and the nerve system is still alive. So they thought, if the Jews cutting only the front of the neck, what good is that? The animal continue to receive blood, so that's a very cruel way to kill. If that's the case, then of course they're right. But they did know one thing. They did not know that all the kosher animals, all the sheep, the cows, even the deer, all the kosher animals, they only have two cords in the front. That's it. They don't have reserve one in the back. Only the impure animal has extra in the back. So this is, by the way, one of the ways to prove that the Torah is divine. Person didn't know all the animals in nature. He didn't know, but it's interesting that the animals that are kosher have only two cords. And you disconnect them, that's it, no feeling. The body moves, the chicken is continue to shake, but it doesn't. There's no pain involved anymore. It's just reflex of the body. You can even walk a few steps. You can see a chicken without a head. You chop his head off in one shot, and you see that he can walk 2 or 3 steps without a head. How can something like this happen? The answer is because of the reflection of the nerve system. So everybody has to use their head sometimes and think, if the creator of the world said in the Torah that it's a big sin to torture animals. It's called tzar ba'alei chaim. You have to have a feeling for the animals. You have to feed them before you feed your children, before you feed yourself. If your animals are hungry at home, every second you get punished for it. It's called tzar ba'alei chaim, torturing the animals. The Torah is very sensitive to the feeling of the animals and to every living creature. Therefore, when God say you want to eat their meat, you're allowed. I created them for your use, but you have to kill them in a way that they won't have any suffering more than what's required. What's required? That 1/10 of a second when the knife begins to cut, there's a slight of a pain and it's over. If you do not do it according to the law of the Torah, for instance, they kill animals today with electrocuting them. They put the cows on a metal floor. They turn the voltage high, they get electrocuted, they fall, that's it. That's a much more painful way to kill the animals because this electrocution may take 10, 20 seconds until they die. So that's why they used to kill them with a rocket gun. They shoot the rocket gun right in between the eyes and it blows the brain to pieces. That's not a good way. That's what brought the mad cow disease. Because in the brain of the animals, this killer virus inside, germ, whatever you want to call it, is the mad cow. and when you blow the brain, it goes to all over the body. You understand? That's why in Jewish glad kosher slaughtering, nobody ever got this mad cow sickness, because in slaughtering, you don't eat the brain. The brain stay full and they wasted with the rest of the head. Nobody eats those parts. So that's why it didn't affect. But when you blow the brain, it sends the germs all over. And then when you eat a piece of steak from the animals, it's affected with this kind of sickness that it's in the brain. Now it went all over. If you keep it inside the brain, it stays inside the brain. You blow the brain. They realize it, so they stop killing animals with this rocket gun. So now they're killing with the voltage, with the high voltage. Many of them, they go hunting. They shoot the animal. Everybody understands when you shoot a deer or you shoot any other animal, it takes sometimes minutes until the animal dies. And the animal goes to tremendous pain. So this is really being hypocrite. Thinking the glad kosher slaughtering, torturing the animal, it's a very big mistake. It's the best way to do it that the animals do not feel anything. Okay, so this is it. That was mitzvah number 451. One thing we have to know, one more thing about it. Not everyone can slaughter the animals. For instance, a person is not Shomer Shabbat. If he's not keeping Shabbat, even if he's an expert on how to sharp the knife and how to cut, and he knows exactly how to check the animals, he's professional, if he slaughter the animal, the meat is not kosher. Cannot eat from it. That's why you have to know who you buy the meat from. If you just buy from a company that they hire everyone, it may be Mechalel Shabbat b'chlal, smoke on Shabbat, then he comes on Monday to slaughter some cows, then everything he slaughter is not kosher, you know. So we have to know these things, you know. Just because you know how to slaughter, or because he used to be religious 10 years ago, and now he went off the way, and he continued to work, and we do not know, and we eat taref, complete taref. It's like eating dog meat. Because once it's not kosher, it's not kosher. It doesn't matter. So he has to know, of course, all the laws, and also now after slaughtering, the certain parts of the animal that needs to be digged out, like gid anashet, the ligament in the back of the animal. You have to be an expert to know how to take it from the top to the bottom. It's like a muscle, like a ligament that is long and it goes in between different parts of the animal. You may take a piece out, but some of it stays, and then they sell it and you eat it, and it's isur karet. It's one of the most 36 severe sins in the Torah to eat this. You know, it's karet, mamash horrible. So you got to be very careful. This is, by the way, one of the reasons why the Ashkenazi Jews do not eat the back of the animal. They don't want to play with fire. It's too much of a risk. Just take it, don't touch it. Why? Sfaradim, in tradition, they're very careful. They learn from father to son more how to remove it completely. And they eat that part of the animal. But just to show you that there's a lot to know. It's not so simple just to cut the neck and that's it. There's a lot to know. It's called nikur. All right, anyway, we move on. Mitzvah number 452, not to eat ever min achai, an organ from a living animal, which means today it's really hardly exists anymore. You cannot find anymore people who take a live animal and cut a piece from their body anywhere and eat. You know, you don't find that. But it was very common in the old days. 3,000 years ago, people used to cut the animal and eat it. People used to eat raw things. Yeah, even if they cook it later. But the fact that they did not kill the animal, they first cut a piece from it and later cooked it or whatever, that's called ever min achai. This is a sin that even the goyim are not allowed to do. It's one of the 7 laws. So today the Gentiles, they have, in a way, they have a discount. So the 7 is really 6, because no normal Gentile today is cutting a piece or an organ from an animal and eat it before he kills the animal first. It's against ethic, regardless of the Torah. So right there, the 7 is really 6. You understand? So, because nobody does it anyway. So, but in the old days, it was obviously, if the Torah gave so many warnings about it, in few different places, that means it was a common problem, and people used to do it. Doing it, one of the reasons is, besides torturing the animal, which is violation of tsar v'alei chaim, of cruelty to animal, there's another problem is that while doing it, the nefesh of the animal, the nefesh, the spiritual part, even though it's much, much lower than a person, the spiritual part of the animal is in the blood, and it's in the piece. You took it out with all the blood in it. So that's another problem, that the nefesh is right there. That's why it's called Ever Min Achai. This is what God told Noah after the flood, when they came out of the ark and the world restarted again with only a few people. So he told them this mitzvah that they're not allowed to do it, and that applies to all Gentiles. Even the Hebrews, before they got the Torah, this is one of the 7 laws that they were obligated to keep. Once the Torah was given, then it's repeated again in the Torah, in the 613 laws. But before the Torah was given, it was a part of the 7 laws that all the Goyim had to keep, all the people in the world. Mitzvah number 453, it's when a person bring a sacrifice from overseas into Bet HaMikdash. From overseas into Bet HaMikdash, so there is a list of instruction how to take care of the animals, how to treat it from the time you bring it until it's been sacrificed in the temple in Jerusalem. This is, by the way, an argument between the Rambam and the Ramban here. If this is a separate mitzvah from the list of the 613 laws, or it's included in the sacrifice of Israel, which is all in one category. Is it 2 different mitzvot, since one is from Israel and the other come from overseas? Overseas doesn't have to be from the United States. It can be from Jordan, from 5 miles away, from Egypt. It can be from anywhere. But the idea is that in the list of the Sefer HaChinuch, this is where I'm bringing it from, it's listed as mitzvah number 453. Mitzvah number 454, not to add anything to the mitzvot of the Torah. We're not allowed to modify the Torah. Of course, we're not allowed to change, we're not allowed to erase, we're not allowed to decrease some details, but we're also not allowed to add. For instance, if the Torah told us to sit in a sukkah 7 days in Israel, and we're in the mood to sit 10 days in a sukkah, to continue the holiday 3 more days, we say, God, you told us 7, we'll do better, we'll do 10. Not allowed, you ruined the mitzvah. The Torah says to have 1 mezuzah on the right side on the entrance to your house and to every room in the house. Person say, you know what, I'm going to put 2 mezuzot. I want to show Hashem, he told me to put 1, so what do you care? Instead of $70, I spend $140 on each door. Why? I want to show Hashem that I'm righteous. That's a sin. It's a sin to put 2. Why? 1, that's it. The Torah say 1. So all these things, it's called Bal Tosif. Do not. Now this is a very complicated issue, and I'll explain what I mean. Because sometimes, after all, we do go to the extreme side, and sometimes we do a little bit more than required. It's a very thin line between when it's a sin and when it's a mitzvah. If you're not educated well enough in the Torah, you get very confused. Why sometimes we do more and sometimes it's a big sin. And every one of these issues that when we sometimes do more and sometimes we're not allowed to do more, it's discussed in the Talmud, in the oral law, why over here we allowed and over here not. And when you read the answer, they are beautiful. You see how it's all with the formula that's systematic. There's no coincidence. Here it's because it's that way, and here it's because it's this way. And, sometimes there's a doubt. We don't know 100% how to do it correctly. Because of it, we have to do it in 2 different ways. That one way for sure is good. When you don't know, right? If you owe money to one of 2 people, 2 twins, Reuven and Shimon, identical twins, and you, God forbid, stole money from one of them, and you don't know which one. They look the same, they dress the same, and you come and say, listen, I regret I stole money from you. I don't know which one. It was you or you. You look the same. And both of them say to me, you stole from me. I'm short $20 in my pocket. And the other one, and maybe even they believe it. They both think that there's $20 missing. They didn't count their money well. So now you don't know what to do. So how do you solve the problem for sure? By giving each one 20. For sure you give them one back. One you lost, fine. But yet you for sure paid back. If you give one of them, you gamble. Let me give this guy Reuven. Maybe it was Shimon. You did not solve your problem. You gave this guy money that you didn't have to, but you still owe the other one, so you're still a sinner. Now you come one day, you finish your life, Hashem say, you a thief. Say, why? Remember you stole $20? Yeah. I know you regret, and I know you went to give it back, but you never gave it back to the person you stole it for. So what good is that? You gave it to somebody else. So yeah, of course, it looks much better than someone who never tried to correct and kept the money, of course, but still it's a sin. You still died with $20 in your pocket that do not belong to you. You understand? So this is an example how sometimes it requires to do two to make sure that one of them is the correct one. And there's many other examples. Sometimes the rabbis, the sages in the old generations, they made decrees around the Torah. For instance, let me give you an example. From the Torah, it's not allowed to eat meat from animals such as cow and sheep. It's not allowed to eat it hot with anything dairy, cheese, melted cheese, milk, together, touching, and you eat it together or you cook it together. It's not allowed. But the Torah never said that the meat of the chicken is also not allowed. The Torah only spoke about the heavy animals, what we call behema gasa, not the chickens. But later the Chachamim made a decree that is just as bad. You're not allowed to eat chicken with, you cannot eat a burger that's made from turkey or chicken with melted cheese. Before the Chachamim made the decree, if a person did it, it wasn't a sin. Once the Jewish Knesset Agdolah, the Jewish, what we call like Supreme Court of the Chachamim, they made that decree. That's it. It's exactly the same sin, like eating a different animal. So what is it? Why this is not adding to the instruction of the Torah? Because God said to the Chachamim, according to the situation, to make fence around certain things, certain subjects in the Torah when it's required. So the Chachamim, every time they saw that people become weak in a certain territory, they're not as good as they used to, they made a decree to make the keeping the laws more strict. So for instance, when they saw that people cannot tell, or not everyone can tell the difference between meat of a veal and the meat of a chicken. You see a turkey steak and a veal, it looks exactly the same if you're not an expert in meat. So you see somebody eat turkey steak with melted cheese or with milk together, you say, oh, here, I saw the rabbi eating it. That's the same meat, the same thing, I'll also eat. So people get confused. Not everyone is a genius, especially in those days. So the Chachamim say, you know what, to avoid confusion, since people started to get mixed, you know, in the old days, everyone can tell right away by looking at the meat, from what animal it is. When the people are not such an expert, so they had to make this fence. No meat, any kind of meat allowed with dairy. That's a decree. That's not adding. That's a requirement. That's to protect what we have in the Torah. Without that, you lose what you have. I give one more example. Up to about 2,000 years ago, there was no sin to be with a woman in an isolated room with the locked doors and the window shade is down. Why? People were so modest that it didn't come to their mind to make a sin. Until the first incident happened, that a boy and a girl made a sin, touched each other, whatever they did, because they were in an isolated room and they knew nobody can come in. And the evil inclination were convincing them to make the sin, since nobody can come, don't worry, nobody will come. The Chachamim realized that now the generation is much, much lower in a spiritual level, and they made a decree that it's not only not allowed to make a sin before you get married to her, you have to get married and then she's allowed to you. So not only when you touch and you make a sin, it's a sin, no. Even to be together in a place that it may lead to a sin, it's already a sin. which means closing yourself in a room or in a locked place and the windows are down, or late at night in a car in an isolated street, or sitting in a park in between the bushes that nobody can come. That's called yichud. Who made this law? The sages. Who gave them permission? God. So you must make decrees to protect the Torah according to the needs. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't need it. When they saw that people start to make medicine on Shabbat, up to certain generation, people were very strong. They knew Shabbat doesn't matter. I have pain, my tooth hurt. Doesn't matter. Nobody ever dreamed to take all kinds of ingredients and ground them on Shabbat and make medicine. Nobody thought to do it. When one person made it, they realized, okay, people cannot tolerate the pain. They're not as strong as they used to. They make ground and make medicine on Shabbat. They're not allowed to use medicine on Shabbat. Why? Because if you allow them to use medicine, what's going to happen next? When they run out of medicine and they have pain, they're going to cut from the trees, which is one violation, to cut on Shabbat. Second, they put it and grind it. That's a second violation. Third, they heat hot water and put it together and mix. That's the third violation. So many violations from the Torah, which when each one of them is Isur Karet. It's a serious violation. So what? How do we solve the problem? We just make a law. No one is allowed to use medicine on Shabbat. Finished. That's it. Unless if it's a life risk. Life risk, fine. Or a goy is around, different stories. So certain things you can tell the goy to help. But no, nobody use, nobody violate Shabbat. And many other examples like this. So this was the mitzvah number 454, not to add anything to the details. To the details of the Torah. One more example, how do you add? The Torah say 4 minim, lulav, etrog, hadas, and arava in Sukkot. So a person say, you know what, I'm going to make it better. I do 2 lulavim. 2, right? So it's actually dismissing the mitzvah. It costs you more money, it's heavier, it's more burden to carry, and in the end it doesn't count, you did the mitzvah. Because Hashem says 4, not 5. You understand? So this is an example. Mitzvah number 455, not to decrease anything from the Torah. You want to do 3 instead of 4. You have hadas, you have arava, you have lulav, but you don't have etrog. And you want to make bracha and move 3. So better 3 than nothing. You're changing the instruction of the mitzvah. It's not good. The mezuzah, you have 2 chapters from the Torah. You say, you know what, let me just do 1. I'm in a rush. You're not allowed. You modify the instruction of the Torah. You understand? Any kind of things that you change the details of the mitzvah, you decrease. For instance, you sit only 6 days in a sukkah. Say 6, it's enough. Why do I need 7? 7, it's too much. I cannot leave my business. 4, it's enough. 3, it's enough. Everyone according to his desire, you start cutting from the mitzvot, you basically ruin the Torah. This is what happened to the Reform movement. 200 and something years ago, all they did is modified 1 tiny instruction in the laws of tzitzit. Tiny. And what happened? Today, they don't keep 1 mitzvah from the Torah, not even 1. There's not 1 mitzvah from the Torah that they keep according to God's instruction. Not Shabbat, not Tefillin, not Mezuzah. None of the things that they do, it's kosher. You understand? If a Reform Jew writes a Sefer Torah, even if he has the most beautiful writing in the world, the Sefer Torah has no holiness. It's Mechalel Shabbat. It's driving the car on Shabbat, eating on Yom Kippur. You understand? His wife is Christine, and his second wife is her sister, whatever. So what do you expect from him? You expect him to put any holiness in the mitzvah when he lives and violate every rule of the Torah? And even if he's a nice person, doesn't matter. He's violating the Torah. That's called lo ligroa, not to decrease anything from the instructions of the Torah. Mitzvah number 456, not to hear a prophecy of an idol worshipper, which means a person comes to you and say, in the name of JC, this is what God said. In the name of, I'm getting you a prophecy in the name of JC. As soon as he starts to talk like this, you're not allowed to hear one word from him. You block your ears and you run away. You may think, let me make fun of this fool. We know he's a fool. Whatever he wants to say, fine. Who cares? Anyway, I don't believe in him. No. It's a big sin to stand there and hear his nonsense. And sometimes they stand on the street. I don't know what they say, because as soon as I see them, I run away like fire, you know. So I really don't know what they say. But all kinds of missionaries that speak, this is saying prophecies or anything from a false prophet, or from in the name of an idol, or in the name of Buddha, or Hinduism, which is complete idol worshipping, or any other cult that follow any kinds of idols. Anything they say in the name of their idols, you're not allowed to even listen to them. They send you an email with their nonsense, you're not allowed to read it bichlal. Now, you know, not to respond to them, not to talk to them about it, not to let them even open a conversation. And it's a very big violation.
What do you do in the subway? What happens about when you're in the subway?
Put your earphones and listen to the lecture. Okay? So, yeah, you don't listen to them. Okay, so, well, the people in the subway, they're more speaking about the New Testament, says like this, but it's really not a prophecy, remember. Well, to be really precise, in Christianity, you don't have any prophecies. Nothing. Which means, of course, they cannot give prophecies because God never gave it. But they do not intend to give a prophecy. If they wrote certain things in the New Testament claiming it's a prophecy, and they come to read it to us, then it's a big problem. But we're lucky in a way that there's really no prophecies there, because they admit that there's no prophecies. There's the same thing in the Quran. There's no prophecies there. It's just a book. Somebody made it up. But really, there's no intent to know the future or to talk about the future, because the writers of this book, they knew they're limited. They don't know anything about the future. So they never try to make such a mistake, gamble and claiming that you know the future, that in 100 years from now, everyone you know, you're a crook. They didn't make such mistake. But if somebody comes and say, in the name of my idol, it says such and such and such, going to happen, and this, not allowed to hear that. If you don't know who he is, and he comes and says something like that, right? So you have to know there's few different prophets that can make damage. One is a prophet who says something in the name of Hashem, but is really not a prophet. Pretending he's a prophet. God told me such and such and such, and we have to test him to see, and we see if he's a crook or not. Today, Baruch Hashem, unfortunately, there are so many people who say things in the name of Hashem that are not correct. And they claim they know the future, this is what's going to happen next month, this is it. And sometimes even when they say something that the odds are very high to happen, and when it happens, then everyone says, wow, you see, he knows the future. So it works once or twice, then the third time that it doesn't work, it makes such a big chilul Hashem, and so many people get discouraged from the Torah, not from him. Instead of getting discouraged from him, they get discouraged from the entire Torah of Hashem. Which doesn't really make sense. That's why every speaker, every rabbi, every leader of community always have to tell the people, I'm not a prophet. I don't see the future. Nobody in our generation can see the future. I only say things based on my common sense or based on what the prophets in the Torah spoke. I read to you what they say, or I repeat verbally what they say. Not that I see that next month is going to be this and this and that. Anyone who misleading the people by when they come to him, give me a bracha, tell me what's going to happen in my operation, will I die, will I live, all these things, and they pretend that they see things, and they close their eyes, and they make all this show. This is the biggest crooks. You got to be very careful from this, and especially when it's going to cost you big time, because they're not doing that show for free. You understand? You have to be very careful. Very, very careful. Mitzvah number 457. If a person persuading us to follow an idol, come with me, I'll take you to this place. There's a special idol there. There's some guy from India. He says all kinds of words. He knows everything about you. He can read in a coffee. He's going to tell you all these things. And you say, wow, let's listen to him and go with him. So the one who convinces you to go, it's a huge sinner. Huge sinner. There's mitzvah to hate him, not to be polite to him, not to like him in any way, not to stand him in any way, not to let him even open his mouth. Being sympathetic to him, showing him cooperation, being embarrassed to tell him, you wicked crook, get out of here and don't ever repeat this nonsense. It's already a violation. Not always as a mitzvah to be so polite to these crooks that come and try to persuade you to come to their idol. I have this fortune teller, you come, she tell you everything, she tell you when you're going to get married, she can see everything, she can tell you why you don't get married, she reads in the cards. This is a huge violation of the Torah, huge. For the one who pretend he knows with all these tricks, for the one who bring you there, it's a very big sin. So the more people he takes there, the more punishment he's going to get. And the one who listens to their foolish advice and go there, it's also a big sinner. Not only if it's a goy, even if he's a Jew with a beard and a yarmulke, and he pretends and he does all kinds of things, and he pretends he sees things, and you have to pay him for it, and he writes all kinds of things for you, and he tells you all these things. You got to be very careful. Those days that people used to know how to do it are over. We don't have the same level Kabbalists like we used to have 600, 700, 800 years ago, 500 years ago. They are gone. We don't have them. The last ones I read in one of the book that was a huge Kabbalist, the last one that everybody knew was the Baba Sali, 20 years ago. Then you had Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul, but he was hiding it. He wasn't making a show from his knowledge in Kabbalah. He was also a legendary Kabbalist that had big power. But everybody after them is not in their level. And even if he comes and says, I'm a student of Rav Mordechai Sharabi, Rav Mordechai Sharabi was very holy and high level. Everyone after him, with all due respect, they may be nice people, righteous, everything fine, they don't have their abilities. They're not in the level. You got to be very careful. Tell your friends, don't go to Brooklyn, to that crook, and to the other one in Long Island, and to the one in Israel. Enough with this nonsense, especially when it costs money. You understand? Because you got to be careful. And sometimes you say, oh, no, they don't really tell you to put money. No, they put a jar there. They know you're not going to go without putting money over there. It's also a good business. People are embarrassed not to put. You understand? So you got to be very careful. All these things fall in idols worshipping. Because the Torah said, Tamim tiyeh Hashem Elokecha. What do you need all this? You have a problem. You're going in a room, you begin to scream and to cry to Hashem, tell this is my problem, help me, save me, you open Tehillim, you read, then tomorrow again, tomorrow again, tomorrow again, 1 week, 5 weeks, the problem will be gone in the end. Hashem prefer that 1,000,000 times more than you go to someone and have hopes that he will save you. That's not Judaism. What is this? If somebody's sick, God forbid, in your family, and so no problem, you go to a big rabbi and ask him to pray for you. Ask his yeshiva to pray, to learn Torah for you. Give tzedakah a lot. They can change your situation, yes. Not if they force you to give. Oh, you want us to pray for you? Send us such and such and we'll do. If not, we're not going to do anything. No, it's not holy people. That's not how a holy person behave. On the other hand, don't take advantage on people. You make them, they have other things in life to do. They leave everything, they pray for you, they do things for you. The yeshiva begins to do certain things to you, tikkun, praying, reading Tehillim. When they take out the Torah, everyone pray for you. Then in the end you become healthy and then you forget. You know? So the idea is not to be ungrateful, but not to let anyone who made it his business fool you. And I spoke about it, who knows, hundreds of times in the past. Sometimes I have a feeling that it comes from one ear and go right away after, from the other side, and people still do it, no matter what. But for the 5 or 10% people that would listen and get saved, it's worth it for me to repeat it one more time. And this is the subject here. So to follow any false prophet, anyone who claims he has power, he receives information from God, you got to be very careful from these people, because the Gemara said 2,000 years ago that the prophecy stopped. No more prophet after the destruction of the second temple. No more prophets. That's why Muhammad can never be a prophet. It was 600 years after the prophecy stopped. Can never be a prophet. You understand? And any other rabbi that came after also cannot be a prophet. Sometimes they have intuition, like Ruach HaKodesh, like the soul feel things. And they wrote something and they were right. But there's a difference between these to really receiving a prophecy from God. Right, this is what's going to happen. Tell the people that next year this is what's going to happen. That's already an official prophecy. There's no more prophets. The Gemara say after the destruction of the second temple, the prophecy is given laktanim velashotim, to the little children, because nobody expects from them to have any holiness in this young age, and to the shotim, to the mentally retarded, what we call maybe autistic kids. They have ways to know maybe sometimes the future. And normal, regular people with a free choice, they don't have this ability anymore. Mitzvah number 458, never to stop hating the person who convinces you to follow his idols. Like these missionaries are trying constantly to come and bring you Sunday to their church. Come one time. Come, we'll help you with the mortgage. We'll help you with this. There's no place to be nice to them. Everyone else you can be nice to them, you gotta hate them as much as possible. Why? They are traders against the real God, replacing him with somebody that they claim is his son, and this and that, and this idol, and whatever the case is. This is something that God himself cannot stand. Hashem cannot stand this. Cooperating with his biggest enemy on earth, making you cooperating with a sinner, with a criminal, right? If you drive a terrorist to murder innocent people, you didn't put the bomb, but you drove him right into the place, using your ID to come in or whatever the case is. He was in a trunk. And he blew up 20 innocent people and killed them. You can come and say, what do you want from me? I didn't kill anyone, I only drove. What's the big deal of driving? No, my friend, you are a murderer. You are a partner of a murderer. If somebody comes and want to take you for a place in a church to hear what they have to say, come only one time. We'll give you money, we'll help you. Come, why don't you express other things? It's not only what your rabbi say. Come hear something else. And you follow him. It's a very serious violation. You got to be very careful. Mitzvah number 459. If you see this person, what we call a broker of idol worshipping, that try to bring more customers to his idol. If you see him in life danger, is about to drown in a lake, and you see him in a war that someone is about to throw in a minute a bomb on his head, and you can run and save him, you're not allowed to save him. If you save him, it's a very big sin, very big sin. If you see him, he fell in a hole, and you're the only one who can throw a rope and bring him up, you're not allowed to save him. Where does it say it in the Torah? Remember, we are not mixing our personal feelings. We are not God. Whether we like it, whether we don't like, whether we think it's too strict, whether we think it's too lenient, doesn't matter what we think. It's read what the Torah says. What does the Torah say about a situation like this? The Torah says, "Velo tachus encha alav." Don't have any mercy on him. Where does it say it? Dvarim Yud Gimel, Deuteronomy 13, verse 16. Everyone can go and read it there. Right? The Torah says, "Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa." When your brother is dying, you cannot stand and do nothing about it. You must save him. Why the Torah say your brother? Your Jewish brother. The Torah should have said, when you see any person is dying, run and save him. That's not what the Torah says. The Torah says specifically, your brother, which brother? Your brother to the Torah and the mitzvot. Not a trader against God who put idols for them to worship. Somebody like this, you don't have obligation to save. You understand? Even violating Shabbat, what do you think? You're allowed to violate Shabbat for everyone? No. Only to the people that God say to violate Shabbat for them. For their life, you're allowed. For other people's life, not always. Why? If they are going against the creator of the world and convincing many people to betray him like they do, why you run and help them? If somebody beat up your father, you come to give him the stick? He's beating up your father on the street. You run. Hey, here, Mr. X, come, take, with this it's going to be better. And then you say, well, I was being a nice person. What do you mean being a nice person? Yeah, he asked me if I can bring him the stick. I couldn't say no. I mean, I'm working on my manners. But you giving him the stick to beat up your father and hurt him more? You giving these people life that they can worship their idols and betray God even more and take away his children away from him? Where is your logic? You go with your heart. You're a liberal, decent person, right? So you go with your heart, not with the Torah. That's the biggest cancer. Going after your heart and ignoring what the Torah says, it's a very, very tricky problem. Because many people go with their heart. It's very hard for them to follow the instructions sometimes. But a hero eliminates his personal opinion, his heart feelings, and stick to the instruction of God. If God told me, do not do that, save this guy, but don't save this guy, doesn't matter that I want to save both. I have to listen to him. Everything else is not in my hand. I can sit and cry after. But what can I do? My hand was tied. Now, I know it's very hard things to digest. But remember, I'm not designing anything and did not invent anything and not bringing my personal opinion in these lectures. I'm only reading mitzvah one after the other. You have problems? Send a messenger to the Western world to put a note there. Tell God that you don't like this part of the Torah. Maybe you can consider taking it and erase some or change and bring it back to humanity with another prophet. Maybe you'll be able to convince him. Anyway, mitzvah number 460. Not to bring any claim that may help or protect the broker of the idol. When he comes and he convinced Jews to come and follow his idols, and now they're about to execute him, and they ask you to come speak for him in a Jewish court, that maybe you can bring a good testimony for him, that he's a good guy, maybe he helps the poor, maybe, all kinds of things that may make him look good in the eyes of the public. There's no permission to do so. Look at this, how strict is the law when it comes to worshiping another entity. We are not allowed to claim anything to teach for the favor of the person who convinced people to follow idols. Mesit, this is the right word in Hebrew, mesit. Persuading people to follow idols. Even if you know something true about him that may protect him and help him, you have no permission to come and say it for his merit. It's very unique. Not allowed to say one good thing about him. And this is what the Torah says, don't have any kind of mercy on him whatsoever. Lo telamed alav zchut. Do not bring any of his positive merits for his favor in any situation. Mitzvah number 461. This is when a person comes to you and convinces you to come with him to the church or to his idol. And now he got caught, that person, in a time that the rabbinical law was in Eretz Israel, the Jewish court, and now they caught a person, a Jew, non-Jew, doesn't matter, convincing people to come, what we call today a missionary. Israel is full of missionaries, full. That's why we're translating my debate now to Hebrew. Man, most people cannot understand the English. So we now translated already 28 minutes. We put 14 minutes every 2-3 days now. Second part has been posted as we speak. And then hopefully by Thursday will be the third part, and Monday the fourth part. 14 different parts, and then we combine everything to 3 hours, because Israel is full of thousands of Christian missionaries who have millions or maybe billions of dollars. They work for this missionary organization. They come to ignorant Jews who doesn't know anything from their life about religion, offer them all kinds of benefits and money, convince them to come, join them singing. They come with a Star David. They come, can we put mezuzot for you for free? Can we check your mezuzot? They replace the mezuzot, putting crosses inside, bringing Shema Israel, all kinds of things. and tricking the old people. Usually it's old people that came from Russia, Bukhara, all kinds of places. Anyway, they don't know Hebrew that much. So they trick them in such ways, and they take them to the lake, they put a cross under the ground, and they make them deep inside, and all these ceremonies of these idols. So now if you're one of the victims, they tricked you, and now they caught the person, and they ask you to come and testify against him before they execute him. So you have to come, and now you say, you know, this guy tricked me, it's true, and he deserves a punishment, but I don't want to go and testify in a court that because of me they kill him. I'm going to say I don't know anything. I'm going to run away for 3 months that they can't find me. That's a very big sin. You're not allowed. Doing it, you're violating the law that the Torah said don't have mercy on him. That the person who was convinced from this crook has to testify against him and not cover for his crime. Where does it say it? Dvarim Yud Gimel Tet, Deuteronomy 13, verse 9. Do not cover on his crime. You must reveal his crime and testify against him. You must. You understand? You're not allowed to be silent. The oral Torah explains what does it mean, do not cover for him. Do not be silent. You must come and talk. Mitzvah number 462, not to convince any Jew to follow any kinds of idol. Any kinds of idol. You know, if a person does it, it's called mesit. So all the last 4 mitzvot are really around one subject. One subject. One, not to have mercy on him. If you see him dying, not to help him. That's the second one. Here is not to persuade any Jew to follow idols. And if the person he was trying to convince you, and Allah to be silent, you have to testify against him. It's all around the same issue. A person is trying to convince others to follow an idol. Look how many mitzvot from the Torah around one subject. So, person who does it is not allowed to do it. Where does it say it? Deuteronomy 13, verse 12. ולא יוסיפו לעשות כדבר הרע הזה בקרבך, speaking about a person that does the bad in the eyes of God among the nation of Israel. You know, what does it mean to follow an idol? To believe in him, to pray to him, to sacrifice anything to him, to clean his place, to make his place more beautiful, to put a stage that bring it up, you know, to renovate the place. A Jew is not allowed to step in a church 1 second even to see the architecture inside, the pictures, the art. He goes to Europe, there's all these like museum churches, ancient, from 800 years ago, 1,000 years ago, whatever it is. And they say, you know, he's a Jew, he walks inside, wow, beautiful, Leonardo da Vinci, this, that, look at this, look at that. He doesn't realize every second he's inside is one of the worst sins in the Torah. Even if he's a contractor, and they give him $1 million to come fix the electric inside, he's not allowed to step in. Plumber, contractor, whatever it is, designer, carpet cleaner, not allowed to step. Your best friend, your partner, the goy, getting married in a church, you're not allowed to step inside. If it's a separate room, which means the church has the place where they pray, but they have a separate hall. They don't pray over there. It's for the parties. That's a different story. Over there you're allowed, but it's better also not to go there. You understand? Sometimes, I now got a question today from one of the Christian girls, young girl, in her 20s, that she watched the lectures recently and she decided to convert. Baruch Hashem, I have hundreds of those. Hundreds, one after the other, every day. It's very interesting how they watch few lectures and right away they give up Christianity and realize that it's so fake after they see the truth of the Torah. It's amazing. So she realized right away, and she already started keeping Shabbat. She said, what violation I have to do in order for me not to keep it 100%, because I know I'm not allowed to keep Shabbat yet. I'm not a Jew yet. Now she asked a question that she has a friend, you know, she grew up with her, a Christian woman, and she has to go and pick up her children once in a while, and the school is in a church. Now she's already considered herself a Jew. That's it. She eats kosher. She dress modest. 1, 2, 3. Don't have to beg her 20 years. to dress modest. Miriam, Rachel, it's not modest. One day, Rabbi. One day. Right away, 3, 4, 5 lectures, it's over. She's already a Rebbitzen. And she's not obligated. Think about it. So she's asking today one question, what to do with the key. She's allowed to carry the key, how she's going to enter the building. She's already in a level of a Rebbitzen, 20 years. And she asked one more question. Sometimes she has to pick up the kids. Most of the time they send the kids out, but once in a while they don't come out, so she has to go inside. Is she allowed to step in to bring them? Because it's in the building of the church. And the nuns over there, think about it. Look at this, 5, 6 lectures in 2, 3 weeks.
You're talking about the Christian bill, right? If I'm asking the question about the Jewish people who's going and worshiping another idol, right? How you can bring, and get deep into that problem already, how you can help them to bring back the Jewishness?
Okay, first of all, it's a good question. Jews and non-Jews are not allowed to worship idols. Even non-Jews is a death penalty for them, not only to Jews, because there's no tolerance by God to any human being. But it's true that when a Jew does it, it's very, very strong into this idol worshipping. From my experience, I can tell you that the hardest thing to do when you work with the public, try to make them religious and keep the laws of the Torah, the hardest thing is to convince people to leave their idol. Even if their idol is the rabbi or rabbi who died, and this is their real God, and they're not realizing it, it's almost impossible to get them out of it. Once a person goes into it, it's harder to take him out of it than to take him out of cocaine or heroin. I'm telling you from experience. Now, what I tell you is not written in the books, but I'm telling you from my personal, almost 17 years of experience. Very, very difficult. So if you want to ask me, depend on a person, depend on what techniques to use. Some people, they love money very much. If he's one of your relatives and he's deep into that, you make a deal with him. Leave it for 3 months, come to yeshiva, learn Torah for 3 months, I'll pay you every month such and such money. If you can afford, of course. Tell them, I don't know, if he's a teenage, I'll give you $1,000 a month, you sit and learn Torah. What do you care? You don't make it right now. 3 months you learn, you have $3,000 or $6,000. That's very possible that after being with the Torah in a holy place, go to mikveh, keeping Shabbos with all the people who learn, the holiness of the Torah will get them out of this. I took many of these idols worshippers out of it, but it wasn't easy. It was with lectures, CDs, private conversation, arguments, back and forth. But usually the best way to do it is to bring them to learn in yeshiva. They learn in yeshiva the holiness of learning Torah with everyone around you, clean away all the dirt from you, from your neshama. Without it, it's very difficult. We had one time a family, believe it or not, Bukharian family, that the woman got into, I think they call themselves the 7-day Advantages, whatever they call themselves, a complete cult that following JC, or Jews for JC, I don't even remember, we're talking many years ago, that they were so deep in it that the family was about to break to pieces. And Baruch Hashem, with lots of efforts and prayer, we are able to get them out of it, the parents, and to bring them from that place into New York, and they became very, very religious. But, like I said, it wasn't easy, and it's not easy, and it's very difficult. And that's it, because remember, the bigger the sin is, the harder it is to leave it. Very difficult. And this impurity of these idols stick to the person very strong. The impurity that it creates around the person, following a foreign god, a fake Messiah, all these things that we see around us all the time, it brings a curse to the life of a person. It's making him into impurity so deep that it's very difficult to purify him. Many other things is very easy. Person never put tefillin. He start putting tefillin 2 or 3 weeks, that's it. It's like he was just born. Even Shabbos, even a person didn't know that much Shabbos, he become a Shomer Shabbos 2 or 3 months, he's out of it. Kosher, 3 or 4 days, he's out of it. But this, like I say, it may take a long time. Mitzvah number 400 and 63 to investigate the witnesses very good and very carefully. Of course, there are rules how to do it. 2 witnesses come to testify that Mr. X killed Mr. Y. Well, you just believe them because the details are similar? No. You put them in separate rooms, you investigate them for hours, hundreds of questions. Where was it? What time? What did he wear? Under the tree? What was the size of the fruit on the tree? There was wind, there was no wind, there was sunny day, it was cloudy day. How did it happen? How did he do it? And then you ask him again and again, and if they lie, how you catch a liar? You let him say story and you pretend you believe him. You wait a while, then you say, okay, please repeat again the story, and you record it and listen to it again and you compare. It's enough that 1 or 2 details are not the same, you know he made up the story. Because if it's in his memory, he sees it clear, right? Person knows. If it's in his memory, it's his memory. If he may forget some of the details, fine, it can happen. But if he tells you, oh, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then a week later we investigate again, he said it was in the morning. That's it, it doesn't matter the rest. You know he's lying. He cannot make such mistakes. Plus, like I said, they do everything they can to find contradiction between the testimony of the witnesses. Why? No one is anxious to kill anyone. The rabbis don't want to execute anyone. Let God do it. Why should we do it? I know I'm a judge and I have to do it, but if it's up to me, I'll never kill anyone, unless if there's no choice. If I did everything for 3 days, we investigate them, and Mr. X murdered Mr. Y, what can we do? Cannot give him a prize. So the Torah says to execute him. But if we find any contradiction, dismissed. Let God take care of him. Tomorrow, next day, doesn't matter. Nobody runs away from the punishment one way or the other. So the Torah says like this. Evu metunim badin. Don't rush, don't jump to conclusion, be very careful, very slow, very precise. You know, Vedarashta, Deuteronomy 13, verse 15. Vedarashta, Vechakarta, Vesha'alta. Darashta, it's asking the story. Chakarta is investigation, to investigate. You go behind them. They say this is it, you go. You ask other people, he tell you he was here, you go to the street, like the police, the FBI, that's what they do. You got to do it. Ve'sha'alta, you ask the questions again and again. Ve'ine ein emet nachon hadavar. And after all this investigation and cross-investigation and questions and this and checking and going again, it's real, it's true, there's no other way. Then the Torah tell you what to do according to what violation it was. This was mitzvah number 463. Mitzvah number 464, to burn the city of idols worshippers from A to Z, not to leave any memory from them. Not one tree over there, nothing, not one building, nothing to leave from them. Even the gold. If you want to take the gold, they have tons of golds there on the statues. So it's a shame to burn the gold to the garbage. Let's take the gold, we'll melt it, we'll give it to all the poor people, we'll make it holy, right? We can make a Star David from it, we can make a cover for Sefer Torah, we can use it for Bet HaMikdash for the walls. Why to throw so much gold and rubies and diamonds, whatever they have in their idol worshipping places? No permission to enjoy in any way something that was used for an idol, was sacrificed to an idol as a gift, is covering the idol, is in the same place with the idol, is under the idol, on top of the idol, doesn't matter. It smells like idol worshipping. You have no permission to enjoy it, even if it's worth $1 billion, just to show you how serious is this sin. To burn the ira nidachat. Nidachat comes from the word mudach. Mediach means convince. Convince them to follow the idols. A city that was convinced to follow an idol. Cities of Jews. The Torah say cursed people, bnei Blial, cursed ungrateful people that left God and follow fake gods with their evil heart. This is, I'm reading to word by word, Deuteronomy 13, verse 17. All of them in the same chapter in the Torah have all these mitzvot come from the same area. Burned in fire the entire city and everything in it, with no exceptions. Everything in it. In Hebrew, in case you have a doubt. ושרפת באש את העיר ואת כל אשר בה ואת כל שללה. Everything inside. Everything inside, whether it has a value, doesn't have a value, you burn the entire place. There's all kinds of rules from how many people it's considered that the entire city worshipping the idol, you know, because sometimes it could be 90%, it's not 100%, sometimes only 10% makes a lot of noise because it's everywhere, you know, and when the city receive a status of ira nidachat, of a city of idol worshipping, what's the punishment of idols worshipper? They get killed with a sword. So, and they burn their entire possessions, everything that they owe, you burn. You know, what is it? If there are 2 people or more that persuade them to follow idols, 2 people, and they didn't stop them, they let them walk free over there and do whatever they do, and the people follow them, right? More than 100 people to the majority of the tribe, if it's you know, X amount of people, you know, it's, you know, so then once the majority of the people becoming idols worshippers is considered like the entire city is idol worshippers. If it's individuals, here, that's 5%, 2%, 1%, 0.5%. They get killed by stoning, each individual. But if it's the entire city, with a sword, different kind of punishment. There are hundreds of law applied, the size of the city, when, in what scenario. Of course, I don't have the time to start teaching, and it will take us months. But just for us to get an idea how severe is this sin. Mitzvah number 465, not to rebuild the ira nidachat, that city that was burned completely. That's it, it's only sand and ashes. Now you want to come and rebuild it. You want to build the twins back. It's gone. The place is empty. What are you going to do there? The twins you can rebuild. It's not an idol worshipping place. But over there, not allowed to build anything ever again. That's it. The real estate is worthless there. והייתה תל עולם שלא תיבנה עוד. The place is so cursed that you're not allowed to build anything on that ground ever again in millions of years. Never. You understand what I'm saying here? You destroy the entire city. And now that's it. No one is there. It's a vacant lot, vacant place. Hundreds of acres, there's nobody there. You want to send religious people to open synagogue, yeshivot, and make it like another mini Jerusalem or Muncie, no? Not allowed. Not allowed. The place is cursed forever and ever. Mitzvah number 466, not to enjoy the money. Not only possessions, idols, gold, silver, trees, fruit, the money, the cash. You may say all these things has a value naturally. Gold has a value, silver has a value, fruit has a value. But money, you burn the money. What's the point? Even today, I give you an example. If 1 ton of gold is burned and melted and it's gone from the world, so the world is now lost X amount from its value because there's less gold in the world. But what happened if $1 billion in American dollars got burned? The government can print right away $1 billion and it's like the damage never happened because anyway it's a piece of paper. When the government wants, it has a value. When the government doesn't want, it becomes a toilet paper. Anyway, it's like passing checks. It's like you write a check, nobody really clears it out of your account. A check for $1,000, $100. You come to the grocery, you give it to the owner, he gives you $100 value of grocery. He takes it, give it to his supplier, he gives him $100. His supplier give it to his landlord, The check is traveling forever, and nobody ever clears it. It's just a piece of paper that gives you the power to buy, but it's really it doesn't have a real value. In the old days, it wasn't like that. In the time of the Torah, there was no checks or bills. It was all gold and silver. Gold, dinar of silver. There's coins that have value because of what it made from. The weight, the size of the coin. Gold, X amount of gold buys such and such. This silver buys less. The coin, used to be coins, and they have a normal coins that they make. It has a weight, and they have a value. And if you lose it, you actually really lost something. Cannot replace it. I'll give you an example. I know a person that had $40,000 hidden somewhere under the ground for a few years. And one day he came to take it, and it was in such a humid place that they all got stuck together and became one piece. There's no way to separate them. Try to separate, they get burned. That's it. So he went to Washington, spent the whole day on that. They have a place there, they waited, they have a special lab there. They gave him $40,000 instead. Why? Why are they so generous? You lost, it's your problem. Why? It doesn't matter for them. Anyway, it's just, like I told you, a piece of paper, we'll give you. It's like you gave somebody a check and he never cleared it out of your account. And then he say, I'm sorry, my kid ripped it to pieces. Show you the ripped pieces of the check. What do you have to do? Give him another check. He say, I'm sorry, I paid you already. No, you didn't give him. And for you, it doesn't cost you anything. Give him 100 times of check. The kid rip it again. Give him again. Give him again. How much it costs you? Nothing. You understand what our money is? Every money is a bill. It's like a check. And it transfers from one hand to another. So the money of the city you may think you're allowed to use. The answer is not allowed to use. That's included in a ban that God put on this city. Mitzvah number 467, not to imitate idol worshippers. How do you imitate them? First thing, their haircut. Haircut. What do? They shave on the side, very short. They shave on the side, and then over here they leave a lot of hair. So today it became in fashion, very big fashion, like this, to make like a priest haircut. But it's not allowed. Anything that isolates them from the rest of the world, they have a special way that they dress. Like for instance, what happens if a person wants to wear a priest outfit on Purim? If he wants to wear Ahmed outfit, he looks like Ahmed now on Purim. Another sin. Want to be Ahmed? You be Ahmed for one day. What happens if you want to look like a priest or a Buddhist that worship an idol? This, even though it's Purim, it's a custom, it's only a custom, you don't really want to be an idol worshiper, it's not allowed. Same thing, a man cannot wear a women's outfit on Purim. It's only for the custom. Rabbi, what, I want to be a woman? No. It's only for the custom, for the party, not allowed. 1 second to wear women's outfit, skirt, whatever the women wear. Not allowed. This is clear sentences in the Torah, that you're not allowed to do it. So it's called lo titgodedu. Anything that you do, like the groups of these idols worshippers. For instance, sometimes they make tattoos with the symbol of their idol. If you did it, even if you don't follow the idol, just for the beauty, not allowed to do it, seen from the Torah. So basically, any kind of imitation, like these Gentiles, idols, worshipper, it's not permitted in the Torah. Not to look like them in any way. If they make ponytail, not allowed to be like them. You understand? So all these things that we have today in the world is very common. All kinds of people, they bring from their culture, like in India, and all kinds of things from their culture. And sometimes the Israelis don't really understand what it is, and they think, it's cool, it's fashion, let's do it. What happened? They violate the rules of the Torah without realizing. Mitzvah number 468, not to cut, to make the body of the dead person bald. The Torah, you may say, who wants to shave Who wants to shave the head of a dead person? But in the old days, the Goyim, the Gentiles, the idols worshippers, they used to have a lot of strange and weird things that they used to do. So the Torah warned the Jews, don't learn from them. Whatever they do with their nonsense, you're not allowed to copy. I'll tell you something interesting. It used to be in a time of the Noda Yehuda. It was more than 200 years ago. There was one Jew who used to shave with a razor. You know, there was no machines like today. You go, you buy a machine. So, you know, what people wanted to trim their beard, they either did it with scissor or with a sharp razor. They cut the hair, but they cannot cut from the root. So they hold it and cut, and they make it. It's not as beautiful, but it's short. That's how it used to be. Or they have a special paste that they put, it's hair remover. It's nothing new. Today, all these hair remover cosmetic products, they already have it for hundreds or thousands of years. But if a person cut the root, that's a sin from the Torah. If you just trim it in any other way, it's fine, as long as it doesn't cut the root. So now, the Noda Yehuda heard that the person who shaved with a razor just died, and they're making the funeral on the street. People follow the body. They go all the way from the house to the cemetery. So he came, and this person was sick in a hospital, so his beard grew while he was laying in bed for 2-3 weeks. And then, so they take him now, and then Noda Yehuda brought a razor, and he said, excuse me, hold on. He picked up the blanket from the head of the dead person and shaved his face like this. Took it, put some cream, whatever, oil, and started to cut and shave his beard from the roots. So the family said, it was the biggest rabbi in Europe. Rabbi, what are you doing? You're insulting the honor of the dead person? What is going on here? So he said to them, 30, 40 years, every day he shaved with a razor, he didn't make a beep. Now when it's finally permitted, you're crying. Up to now, every day he made a violation in five different violations every day like this. Didn't bother you, huh? Your father, your brother, whatever he was. Finally, when I did it to him in a kosher way, no violation. Everyone cares and get angry. Why did he do it? He wanted to wake up the other people who shave with a razor to wake up, my friend. What do you think? Hashem said you're not allowed to do. Now you have to pay for it. Cannot run away. So this is it. Mitzvah number 469. Not to eat psulei amukdashim. You know, when certain animals, after you slaughter them, you have to sacrifice them, you find they defected or defect happened now while you prepare it, you're not allowed to eat from it. If a person eats from a sacrifice that originally he has permission to eat from, originally, but now because of the defect is not allowed anymore, and he still eats from it, that's a violation from the Torah. Mitzvah number 470, to check the signs of the chickens. Check the sign of the chickens. What does it mean to check? Every pure bird you're allowed to eat, the Torah say. And the oral Torah obviously gave us the signs how to check the animals, the birds, the grasshoppers, the fish, fins and scales. Grasshoppers, they have to have certain signs on the bottom. Not all of them kosher. You know, the Yemenites, they used to eat them. So they know to tell the difference between a kosher one and not. We do not know. We don't have it in our tradition. Nobody in Europe or the rest of the world ate grasshoppers. In the Yemenite country, if you really pay attention, you see that the Yemenite food is 100% all water and flour. That's it. Once in a while they have Yemenite soup with a piece of meat, but usually everything is melawach, jachnun, fatut, very cheap food, because there was such poverty there. So they can only afford very, very simple food. So grasshoppers used to come in billions. So they catch them, very easy to catch them, and they fry them in a pan like French fries. And so they can tell which one is kosher. If it's a wave of thousands, they check few of them, they see all of them from the same kind. They know it's kosher. They take them, they fry them, they eat them. And one Yemenite told me that it tastes exactly like French fries. Yeah, but doesn't have all the fat and the cholesterol that you have in McDonald's. It's free of cholesterol, free of fat. Healthy French fries. Who has the guts to eat it? I don't know. So there's signs. Also in chickens, the Torah say, what's a kosher chicken? For instance, an eagle. It's also a bird. The word chicken, I keep making that mistake. I'm not talking chicken, only rooster. Any kind of bird, tzipor, every kind of bird. So some birds are kosher, some not. The legs, the nails comes out, the beak. The Torah gave all kinds of signs. Which one is kosher, which one is not. Which one is attacking, which one is not attacking. So you have to check all the signs in the bird. If you don't recognize the bird, you want to know if it's kosher or not, you have to go by the instructions of the Torah. Same thing fish. You caught a fish in a lake. You never saw it in your life. You want to know if it's kosher or not. Nobody recognizes this fish. Well, you have to check that it has fins and scales. If it has scales that you scrape and they fall off, and they have fins, kosher. Do you know it? Do you ever saw anyone eating it? Why are you eating it? What do you mean? The Torah says fins and scales, kosher. That's it. What do you mean why I'm eating it?
Even if they fall off, sometimes when they come out, what do they fall off?
What, the scales?
Yes.
Well, if you know that they have scales, it's kosher. Now, if they fall off when they're babies right away, that means it's not the way they grow it. But if they have it, any one of them fall off. You buy a fish, buy a carp, put it on the table, already few of them fell off. The rest you scrape and they fall off. Right? Okay, that's it. So now, here, speaking about grasshoppers, believe it or not, is the next mitzvah. Number 471, not to eat impure grasshoppers. Only the kosher one. And everything who crawl on the floor and able to fly as well. You know, all these little bugs that, like a ladybug, all these things, they walk on the floor and all of a sudden they fly. So there's no permission to eat them. You know, so that's called sheretz ha'of. The off means af, from the word fly. So it's not allowed to eat that. Mitzvah number 472, not to eat from the meat of the animals and the behema and the chaya and a bird that die by itself. Every cow or sheep or any bird or chicken or deer or any kinds of animals that it's normally kosher and they died by itself, lightning, became old, anything, they died. You know, and you want to now eat it, not allowed. What is it? It's called nevela, not allowed. So you're allowed to give it to the goy to eat it, to the non-Jew. He's allowed to eat it. The goyim shoot the animals and eat them, or they electrocute them, same thing. You know, they were not slaughtered. But the Arabs do not eat this kind of animals because they read in the Torah it's not permitted. But everything the Arabs do, of course, they don't have the oral Torah. So they only stick to the literal text, which is usually the opposite of what they think it is. Because without the oral law, you don't understand the laws of the Torah, or that they don't know what to do. So they try to copy whatever the Jews know, but they don't know all the signs. So for instance, they saw that the Jews only eating slaughtered animal, that's in the Torah, so they call it halal meat. But what about how to slaughter with a knife, check the defect, check inside, broken bones? They do not know any of that. They know the Torah says not to eat the pig, don't eat pork. So they don't eat pork. It's easy. There's not that much to understand. Torah say pig is not kosher. Doesn't matter defect, not defect, small, fat, black, white. Doesn't matter. Pig, not allowed. Muslims don't eat pig. Here is a mitzvah that they do good. Why? There's no instructions in the oral law. It's just the pig is not allowed. Finished. So that's easy. But other things, slaughtering. There's so many instructions in the oral laws. Without it, you don't know how to do it, to make it kosher. So they don't have it. So for them, it's enough to slaughter. That's why every animal the Jews slaughter, and it's not kosher in the end, they give it to them. They buy it and they put halal meat. But they won't eat an animal that got stabbed or electrocuted. Only an animal that was slaughtered in the throat. But we all know that doing half of what the Torah say, or 20%, or even 99%, it's like doing zero. If you did everything in a slaughtering and one detail you left out. If you write the entire Sefer Torah, 304,000 letter, 805, and you skipped a letter or two, it's not kosher anymore. The entire Torah, it's worthless. If you wrote tefillin perfectly, one letter you left out. One guy, I sold him tefillin, and he came to me and said, you know, I don't know if I did the right thing or not, he said. I said, well, that was last week. He said, you know, in my tefillin, there was some kind of a defect. They didn't finish it right. I said, what do you mean? Right away, my heart dropped. I already knew where he's heading to. He said, you know, there's few strings coming out from the tefillin and a square in the head. You know, yeah, there's few strings are coming out. You know, so I cut them. I said, wow, you made it not kosher now. You're putting tefillin as not kosher. You took a very, very good pair of tefillin and turned it into, now, why? Why they left it out? I wanted to get rid of the leftover. I said, no, it's supposed to come there. That's the ligament of the cow. It has to come exactly over there in the third parashiyah there. That's what Hashem said to Moshe and Moses in Mount Sinai. So even something very little like this, few little strings, very little, tiny, 2 millimeter now. You cannot see it. Sometimes it's 2 or 3, that's it. Very small. Sometimes you need a magnifying glass to see it. Makes the entire thing not kosher. There's 1,000 instructions how to make it. One little tiny like this made it 0. Nevertheless, if in the law of the slaughtering you only know one thing and you don't know the other 9 or 10, so what good is that? They waste their time with this halal. They can eat any animals they want. They can buy any animal in McDonald's. It's not a problem. So they are going, following a rule that doesn't really exist. You either do it 100% or it's not kosher. No in between. And the people don't get it. So, mitzvah number 473. 473. Oh, time is running out. 5 more minutes. So let's try to do it. 585. 485. So 483. Mitzvat maaser sheni. Second maaser. Maaser, it's 10%. How do you say it in English? Tithe? Tithe? Yeah, it's a hard word. That means everyone is required to give 10% from his net income. Wheat, barley, fruit, money, whatever. This is all called maaser. Now, you know, when a person takes the 10%, first 10% he give it to the Leviim, to the Levi in Bet HaMikdash. Here is 10% from my wheat that came out this year. Okay. So the Levi takes 10% from what he received and give it to the Kohen. So the Kohen really get 1%. Now this maaser in the 4th year from the Shnat Shemitah, every 7 years it's Shnat Shemitah, it has to be eaten in Jerusalem, not out of Jerusalem. But Jerusalem, I don't mean Ramot, Telstone, neighborhoods that are not right around Bet HaMikdash. Jerusalem where the wall was. Jerusalem was covered with the wall. Up to here it's holy, from here on it's not holy as the rest of the city. You can extend Jerusalem all the way to Tel Aviv, fine, today. But we are talking now in the time of Bet HaMikdash. So the Torah says, Aser ta'aser kol tvuat zaracha. Everything that comes out of your field, you have to give 10%. Right? And if it's hard for you to go to Jerusalem to eat it, if it's hard, you cannot carry, it's 1 ton of wheat, how are you going to carry it with a donkey and a carriage? You need 20 donkeys or 20 carriages, you need slaves, you need servants. It's all the way 2 weeks until you get there. It's a very big headache. The Torah didn't want to torture you. So what do? You sell it in a market, and then you take the money and you spend it in Jerusalem for food and drinks only, not for clothing and buy real estate. Only food for food. Logic. You don't have to carry all the food. You sell it and you eat it over there. You give it to the poor. And this is it. But one thing you have to know, you have to add 20% penalty for doing it. Because the original way, you have to bring the original 10% from your wheat and barley and everything grow in your fields. That's the original way. If it's hard for you to take it once a year, take it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, depend how much you have. Send messenger to take it for you, fine. Take it all the time. You want to sell everything and bring it in one shot, a big bag of money, fine. But you have to add 20% that you're not bringing your original 10%. Mitzvah number 474, Mitzvat Maaser Ani. Maaser, 10% for the poor people, that comes to replace the Maaser Sheni, which I just described, in the 3rd year. First year after Shnat Shemitah, 2nd year, now comes the 3rd year. The Maaser of that year and the 3rd year, and also in the 6th year. Remember, it's all cycles of 7. From 1 year of Shemitah, 7 years, another year of strike. You do not process the land, don't cut, don't plow, don't do anything, don't give water to the trees. So the 3rd and the 6th year are unique. What do? You take the 10% and give it to the poor people. You know, that's what the Torah says, Miktzeh Shalosh Shanim. You know, you take it every 3 years, and you take it, and poor people are eating. It's called Maaser Ani. Okay, mitzvah, the last one for today, mitzvah number 485. So 475, sorry. Mitzvah number 475, not to request a loan that you gave to someone after the 7th year of Shemitah. Let me explain. If a person asks you for a loan, and you know in 5 years from now it's not Shemitah, today it doesn't apply because we don't have Bet HaMikdash. We still have Shnat Shemitah. Oh, I'm sorry. Today it's applied. Even today it applies this law. But today we have a rule that we circumvent that problem. How do we do it? We submit a paper by the Beit Din. It's called prosbol. Hillel made a prosbol, a special agreement, that we make the Beit Din, the Jewish court, requesting the money. It's like we're giving them the money, and now Reuven doesn't owe me anymore. He owes them. When he pays them back, they give me the money. Like they're doing me a favor. So this is a way to go around. Why the rabbis made that law? Believe it or not, it's an embarrassment to say. Because nobody wanted to give loans. Why? People thought, my friend wants a loan from me. He wants $5,000 now. Next year is the year of Shemitah. If he doesn't pay me by next year, money is gone. I cannot go and say to him, give me the money once the Shnat Shemitah started. So the people say, no, you know what? Come back to me after. After the Shnat Shemitah, there is 7 years time. I know in 7 years you pay me back. We make an agreement. When is the due date? No problem. But since the Shnat Shemitah is in 2 months, how do you expect me to give you a loan? You're not going to have the money to give me back. So I don't want to give you. What? I have to lose my money? This is a very big test in emunah, in faith. This is a very big thing. You have to trust God. He said, lend to the poor. The poor comes and asks you to lend him. And you know, there's almost 100% that he won't return. Because in 2 months, I cannot go and ask him for the money. That's it. Shnat Shemitah started, all the loans are canceled. Big thing. So the rabbi saw that nobody wants to give loans. Rabbi, I work very hard for my money. I don't give loans. Let him come after Shnat Shemitah. I'll be more than happy to give him. So they made this agreement, Hillel. Why? To help the poor people. Nobody wants to lend the money. This is another example how the Torah gives power to the rabbis to be creative. Not to violate, chas v'shalom, the laws of the Torah, but to find sometimes ways around it. I'll give you another example. A Jew cannot charge interest from another Jew. Not allowed. You give a loan to another Jew, you're not allowed to charge him a penny interest. So who's going to give money to another Jew? If a person wants to say, give me $100,000, I pay you $1,000 every month interest. Not allowed. So he said, I'm sorry, I cannot charge you interest. You're going to keep my money now 10 years. Not only you're not giving me profit, like the goy will give me, you also make my money lose its value. What's the point? Nobody wants to invest by Jews because they're not paying interest. So the rabbi saw that nobody wants to give loans because there's no interest here. So they made a partnership agreement. It's called heter iska. You're not giving him a loan. You invest in his businesses. And what he pays you, it's profit from the businesses. However, there's one difference between these two alone. When a person doesn't pay his loan, you can go after his home, you can take his shoes, you can take his watch, you can take whatever. Why? He owes you the money. But if you invest in a specific business, you open the restaurant, and the restaurant fell, it went bankrupt, you lost your investment. It's not like a loan. It's not tricking, going around. No, it's not tricking. It's making something different. The Torah says not allowed to give a loan and charge interest. The Rabbi says, okay, loan you cannot do, but partnership you can. Make a partnership. You open a pizza store. You want $100,000 loan to renovate the place? Fine, I'll give it to you. I'm 30% partner in your pizza. Or, forget percentage. First $1,000 from the profits comes to me, and all the rest is yours. That's what I want to make on my money. But what happens if the pizza store goes down? If it was a loan, you take it from his home. If it was an investment partnership, you cannot touch his home. Only the store. You lost your assets. Many people who do not understand the brilliance of the Chachamim, how they found kosher ways to go around tricky situation and hard test, they open their mouth and begin to shoot and criticize. Not allowed to do interest, so you write a piece of paper and now it's allowed. Yeah, very good, all tricks. What are you talking about? Come and learn 10, 20 years before you open your mouth. It's completely different agreement. It's not a loan, it's an investment. Investment, the Torah says no problem, because you take a risk. You're not only making money, you can lose all your money. With a loan, you take collateral, you take his house deed. He mortgaged the house to you. There's nothing to lose. The house worth $1 million, you give him $100,000. He lost the money in a business, you take away his home. That's an interest. This is something else. So this is just one more example how if the year of the Shemitah, the 7th year is coming, you cannot claim for what people owe you. So if you want to give a loan to someone and you're afraid he's not going to give it back by the 7th year that comes, you make him sign an agreement. Every Beit Din, every rabbi can give it to you. It's called prosbol. That he doesn't owe you the money. He owes it to the Jewish court. Because the Torah said that from one individual to another, you cannot request back the loans. But the Jewish court is a different story. There's no restriction for them. So they are allowed. You understand? This is a way, unfortunately, when people don't have faith in God, you have to find ways that they still give loans. Otherwise, they don't want to give. And this is a kosher way to do it. That's enough for today. We are in Mitzvah, remember, next Monday, Mitzvah number 475. We're getting close to the end slowly. A few more lectures, Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.